Hello, everybody. Hi in Pennsylvania. And this is Bob McNally, and I'm bringing you episode 4 of Teach Your Guitar to Sing. And we're going to be looking at a number of elements tonight. If you recall, if you have seen this before, or I'll let you know if you haven't, that the idea of Teach Your Guitar to Sing is to take the level of skill that you're already at and find things to do that are not terribly difficult to learn, that add emotion and add life to what you play. And, when you first learn a song, you learn a song because you want to play it and because you like or love the song. And what we want to do is we want to put as much life and emotion into the song as you are feeling. And there's it's not always obvious how to translate what you might be feeling into what's happening on your guitar. So we look at a whole lot of little techniques that, when you use them in combinations and in sequences, are really effective at sort of changing moods and changing scenes through the song and bringing the intensity up and intensity down, and at least trying to closely reflect the emotional map that you might like to see that song unfold on. So that sounds kind of cerebral, but it comes down to some very simple things that you can do, and you can acquire them in just a few minutes to learn what they are, and then maybe 10, 15 minutes of practicing them. Some of them might be a little longer, but they don't require weeks and months. And the idea is that we'll be applying these in parts of songs as we learn them, so you get an idea how you could apply them, and you'll get to see what the emotional impact of those is as we work on them. So with that said, the elements we're going to work on tonight, I'm going to glance at my script here. This is episode 4, as I said, and we are brought to you courtesy of the Folk Project Acoustic Stay Away. And if you're signing on through the Folk Project Acoustic Stay Away page, then you're familiar with that. But if you're found us from another source, you should check out folkproject.org for the Acoustic Stay Away, which is a series of online events to replace the Acoustic Getaway Festival that we have twice a year at the Folk Project, that we can't be doing now, in the live concert series that we do in Morristown, New Jersey. That's all shut down for now, but we're here 5 days a week on streaming on the internet. And if you go to that website, folkproject.org, you can find out what's happening on each of the days. And this is, as I said, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, is Teach Your Guitar to Sing that I'm teaching you. So the first technique we're going to look at is what's called a roll strum. I've got my capo on the 2nd fret, and I'll be playing in key of D to start with at the 2nd fret. So that comes out in key of E, but we'll say D at 2nd fret. And a roll strum is simply dragging your pick across the strings slow enough that you hear each note separately, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, or brum. It's kind of like a rasgado strum in flamenco, where you hear a sequence of notes rather than one burst of notes. So the roll strum by itself is that. Now you could do a very slow roll. You can do the roll so it kind of goes diagonally across the strings to make the time between each note even longer. And you could do it like a faster roll, or a slow roll. Sometimes that's a great way to end a song dramatically. So that by itself is the roll strum, and we'll see how we put that in with other rhythms. Lifting a chord is simply, that's the next element we're going to do. Lifting a chord is simply, if you open up all the strings before you strum the first beat on a chord, it's like ah-doom. You get that open string sound. Now that open string sound it's technically some kind of chord, but it's not the greatest of chords ever made. But when you hear that as a kind of an accent leading into a chord, that's lifting a chord, and we worked on that some last week with Greenback Dollar. The next one is what we call a double time burst. Now, double time is if you're strumming a beat like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you do the up strums in between, they're generally 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So as soon as you start doing the up strums, you're getting sounds happening twice as fast, but what we consider the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, stays the same. So when we think beat and offbeat, we're kind of thinking the beat is the grid and the offbeat happens exactly halfway between each of the grid lines. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. What double time is, if you strum that same sequence of sounds but as all down strums, now you could count that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but since you're using the down strums, it's convenient to think of that as strumming a rhythm that's actually a beat that's actually twice as fast and call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you notice even with my words, if I say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it's got a certain feel, but it feels fairly relaxed. You feel the beat and you hear that other thing in between, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Or if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it feels more insistent because the sounds are almost the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, whereas 1 and is a clear difference in sounds. So when you have a rhythm pattern being made with just one sound, it's a different feel than the same exact rhythm pattern done with two sounds. Can you hear how much slower that feels? So that makes double time a really great way of driving intensity or creating a sense of urgency at a certain part of a song. So that's double time. Now what a double time burst is if I'm strumming 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, a double time burst is to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 in the double time. So the way that would count would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 4 and. So we'll be working on that. As long as you get the sound of it, I'm not worried about how you count that or not. But it's a dum da 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 da, where you're going dum da dum da dum da dum da dum da 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 dum da 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 da. And we could name it by standard rhythmic notation in music what the exact noting of that would be, but for convenience I'm calling that a double time burst because it's a little burst of double time. You're not shifting into double time for a whole section, but you're hitting a little, okay? And the double time burst sounds a lot like the roll in the sense that it extends a little space in the middle of the song. So if you have, now let me say that a little differently. It adds a kind of a blur of sound or a bunch of stuff happening all at once at the section where you do it, instead of each strum element being a burst, 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 burst. It's burst, 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 brum, burst, 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 brum, burst, burst, burst. So the roll is a brum, and the double time burst is a burst. I mean, is a little brr sound. Okay, early chord change. This will make more sense later as we get past the lifting chords in a song. But in early chord changes, where I was doing that lift, early chord changes just go to the chord a beat early, like where that lift would be. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So that lift is on the and just before the next chord, and if I just change to that chord on the and, Now, I'm going to mute my mic for a second because I got an allergy sneeze coming on. Yes, it is in fact spring here in Pennsylvania. Right on time. Okay, so the early chord change, we'll see that as we do that in the song, and it'll make more sense when we follow the lifting chord with it. And then the last thing is syncopation. And we may get to that today, we may not get to that today. But what syncopation is when you are focusing on the offbeats rather than on the beats. So if you're going on a G chord here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. We know we have beat, off, beat, off, beat, off, beat, off, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The downstrum generally takes a little dominance in the way you hear it on guitar. We tend to play the downstrums a little harder than the upstrums. But watch what happens if I make the upstrums significantly louder than the downstrums. I'll start with them at the same level first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So now you've got the emphasis happening on the lift, on the upstrum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And another way of making that lift on the upstrum happen more is if you just play a couple notes in the bottom for the downstrum. You see, that takes a little hopping around in my hand because I'm going a little burst here, so I'm not all the way down to catch all the strings, so I have to continue on down and then come up. So that's going to take a little practice, but we're going to do a song where that fits in really nicely and show you how to work that into a rhythm. So that's the elements we're going to cover tonight. And what I will do is make the menu go away and look at our first set of chords. So this is the Beatles' Nowhere Man. This is the chords. And we're not going to really do the song because the copyright rules kind of get in the way of that. But we're doing an educational thing, so we're going to show you some chords and some techniques using those chords. And maybe we'll hum a little bit of the melody just to kind of help you keep your place. So a good way to start Nowhere Man, let me just check when I want to cover on this first. Yeah, we're going to start this with the roll strum. So I'm going to play through the chords. Let's do this. If you have your guitar and you have your capo at the second fret, it's D, A, G, D, and then G, G minor, D. In G minor, we're going to play a bar at the third fret and then fingered like an E minor shape up from that bar with these two fingers. If you don't know that chord, just kind of hold the G, or you're going to have to learn that chord at some point. But if you don't know it now, just, say just hold the G there even when I go to the G minor. It's a little odd, but you'll hear it, but I won't hear it. Okay, so we're going to start with a roll strum, and I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to play through the verse chords twice and the chorus chords once, just so you can get used to changing those chords and kind of get a sense of what's going on. And you could just play a steady beat, or let's try something like, really a simple 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and done kind of lightly is a great way to start this. And then we'll bring the roll strum in after we get through the chords a couple times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to demonstrate the roll. Sharp minor is like the G minor but slid down one fret. So we're in, I'll continue with the roll. So there's the basic chords, and you can kind of almost hear the melody in the notes on the guitar, that a lot of the melody notes come right from the chords. So the first thing we'll do is let's break down the roll strum in terms of the exact rhythm I did there. And I'm playing the D. I add my thumb wrapped over the 6th string at the 2nd fret, and that gives you some things that you can use on the bottom. It's a really useful chord. If that's uncomfortable, you don't have to do it, and it may take a little while to find the position where you have to kind of lift your wrist up a little bit to get to that. But if you just touch that string with your thumb, it'll muffle that note, and that means that when you're playing a D chord, instead of having to be careful that you only hit the 5 strings, because that E note doesn't fit with the D chord, if you're muffling that string, you can just hit all 6 and you still get a nice D chord sound. And if you're fretting that note, it gives it a very rich sound with the F sharp, the 3rd of the chord on the bottom there. And it'll also be useful for some cutting off things we do with that. So the roll strum, we're going to do 1 da 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 da. So it's technically 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and down, down, up, down, up, down, up. But that second down is a roll. So it's 1. And I recommend this. When you're moving your hand across the strings when you're strumming, how many strings does the guitar have? Well, of course, it has 6, unless you're playing a 12 string. But it has basically 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in this little space, which is about what? 2¼ inches, 2½ inches there, right? When you strum, if you started with your pick right on the 6th string, and then you pushed it across to the 1st string, it never has a chance to get much speed across the strings, so that you wind up doing a roll strum, even if you don't mean to, if you're strumming from 6 to 1. So I always recommend strum from -6 to 12. -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that you're strumming, ideally, your strum covers this whole range. Now, there's many times when you aren't going to strum that far. But if you're strumming a big range like that, maybe it's 9 strings, not 12 strings, your pick is up to speed when it hits the strings. So you have a nice solid pulse rather than a blob of music. So with the roll strum, even though we saw that you can get an accidental roll, what I would call a sloppy down strum. See, that creates a blurry rhythm if you're just strumming, from 6 to 1. But with the roll strum, give yourself a head start anyway, and do it like a flourish almost. So you kind of go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. See how I lifted up even higher when I went into that roll? 1, 1, 3, 4, and 1. So let me count out a beat that's a little slower than that, and just hold a G chord, and let's just practice that roll strum. You may have been doing that already. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, and 4, and 1, 3, and 4, and let's actually stop for a second. Let's just go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, a little slower tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 1, 1. And the feeling you're looking for with that roll strum is a kind of a ta-da kind of a feeling. So 1, 1. Okay, so now the rhythm we're going to put that into will be 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let's finger the D chord. we'll use a tempo of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and. Right, so now let's give that a try, and we will go through the chords for the verse once, doing that rhythm on each chord. So we're starting with the D. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, now I'm gonna move on from there. If I'm going too fast, feel free to type anything in the chat. We have people who are beginners, we have people who are intermediate, we have people who are expert players tuned in. So we're going to try to find a happy medium. But as long as you understand the things that we're talking about, you'll be able to practice those on your own. And the whole video is recorded and will be available on YouTube. You can go to strumstick.com and you'll find links in our video tab in our navigation bar that'll take you to the streaming workshops that I'm doing here. So you'll be able to get this video. It's episode 4, and that way you can review any parts of this if you want to refresh yourself, because by the time we cover 4 or 5 techniques and apply them several different ways, you may or may not remember everything, but it will be there on tape. So let's do this. We're going to play through the verse twice and then the chorus once with the roll strum. And this is asking a little stretch here. What I'd like you to do is, while you're playing it, especially as we get into the second verse, I'd like you to keep a half of an ear open for what's the feelings that are happening as you move through the chords and as you move into the chorus. And I don't mean your personal feelings in this case. I mean the feelings that the song chords by themselves might be evoking. And there's no right answer to that, but just start to actually listen to what's happening. When you're in the middle of doing things, it's hard to listen to what you're doing. That's one of the reasons why you practice, is to get past the doing stage so that you can do it and then discover what it actually sounds like. But we're going to make a little try at that as we go through the chords in the second time through the verse. And we're going to pick the tempo up just a little. So from the D chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Second time. To the chorus. Okay, so I hope that worked out well for you, at least as far as getting the roll strum in part of the way through, and you can work on that. Now, I'm going to tell you what I noticed, since you can't tell me what you noticed. If we were doing this live, I would ask you to tell me whatever you might have noticed. But I noticed that by the time I got to the second verse felt pretty much the same as the first verse, or the second time through the verse chords. Maybe a little different because I was listening a little more closely. But when I went to the chorus, because of the way the song is written, the chord change changes the scene. Going to that F sharp minor gives there's a built-in change in feeling with the chorus. And that's one of the things that people do intentionally when they compose a song, is they choose chords and they choose transitions between chords, in order to move their feelings and therefore your feelings around as they go through the song. So the song has a built-in scene shift when you go to the chorus. And it's interesting because the chorus goes the same two chords, F sharp minor G, F sharp minor G, F sharp minor G, 3 times in a row, and then holds on the G, and then a G, A. That G dash A means changing to the A in the second half of that measure. So that last line would be F sharp minor 4, G 2 3 4, G 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, which you might pick up anyway from just if you're familiar with the way the song sounds. But that's what that G dash A means. So we have a hint or clue of a place where we might want to think about doing things to accentuate that scene change when we go to that F sharp minor. So let's go back to the verse, and now let's bring in lifting the chord and see what effect that has. So without doing the roll strum, I would be going, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on the D. Now on that last and, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and open up the strings, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and it almost sounds like you're saying and this chord and this chord and this chord and this chord. So here that is slowly, 1 2 3 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and... Now that seems pretty basic. This is a simple thing to do, and it's a real bonus because it actually gives you more time to get to the next chord. So if that change from D to A or from A to G is a slow chord for you where you are in your development, this gives you a little extra time to get there. So as you lift, see, I'm already starting to move towards that chord. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay? So that's the lifting of the chord. Now we're doing this without the roll strum. Let me play the first set of chords just once. You can play along or not. I'm going to lift the chords. I'm not going to do the roll strum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 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 3, and 4. Now that feels different than sorry, I did it by mistake. I couldn't stop myself. Now watch. I almost hit the F sharp, but I slid my way out of it. So that's the lifting of the chord. And let's play through the verse once and the chorus once together and lift the chord on the and at the end of the pattern. So you're going and chord, and chord, and chord. So the first one, the D chord, we're already on it, so we don't lift at the beginning, although you could if you wanted to be fancy. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 2. Verse, the chorus, let's go right into it. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 2. And that's a little tricky. When the G into the A, you can decide whether to go and 1, 2, 1, 2. You could do the lift before the A too. And 1, 2, and 3, 4. And 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 And 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay, so you can decide to do this or not do this on any chord, or you could accidentally do it when you didn't mean to, or you could accidentally not do it when you meant to. It'll only change the rhythmic texture in an interesting way, whether you do it or don't do it. And as long as you don't stop, say, oh my God, I forgot to do my lift. Oh no, what am I going to do? And now everybody knows, and the song is ruined. And you might as well, just quit and jump off a bridge. But if you just keep going with your steady beat, everything will be fine. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. So keep the beat going, keep the strum going, keep the rhythm going, and you can do little harm if you do that, unless somebody's playing really close attention. But in which case, you were doing a good job in the first place because you commanded their attention. So now, we've got the roll strum, we've got the lifting chord. Let's do the roll strum and the lifting chord. Now, since the lifting chord happens on the and 1, the and before the 1, we have 1, 2 for the roll. So we've got plenty of time to do the roll. So we've got and 1, brr, and 1, brr, and 3, and 4, and 1, brr, and 3, and 4, and 1, brr, and 3, and 4, and. It sounds like it should be a German polka band almost. 1, brr, and 2, and 4, and. Okay, so let's try from this tempo 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and just on the D chord, a lift, the chord, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, roll, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2. I think we should slow that down even more. I'm even confusing myself trying to say it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 3, and 4, and. Oh, I see what's happening because we have this and. It's a little soon for that next lift. Let's go and 1, and 3, 4. Now we still have to have that and there. Oh, let's do it with the chord changes. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, roll. A, roll. G, D, roll. That's, I think, a better way to dive into that. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, roll. I forgot my roll. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to play that up to speed. Don't worry about doing that because you're really doing three things now. And if this is all, to the extent that this is new, that pushes the overload zone. But I want you to hear what it'll sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's give that a try slow, and let's play through the verse one time and the chorus one time, and I'm going to slow the tempo down, and so remember we're going 1 roll and 3 and 4, and that's the element that we're repeating over and over. 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and we're just plugging the chords into that. So 1, 2, ready, go. 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and to the chorus. 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 4 and 1 brr and 3 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, good. Now I hope you were able to kind of block your way through that. Now what I'm going to do is we've got 3 elements to work with now. We've got the regular strum, we've got the roll, we've got the lifting chord, and I'm going to mix those together in different combinations just as an example. Don't try to do exactly what I'm doing because you won't know what I'm doing until I did it. But if you listen to this, notice that it feels one way when the roll is happening, a different way when the chord's lifting or not lifting, and just sort of follow the emotional texture of this. And I'm not aiming for any particular outcome here. I'm just showing some variations on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear there's a varying texture to the rhythm as we go through that with those elements. Okay, now the next element I want to bring in is we talked about the double time burst. And this is take a little practice by itself. So we're going to finger the D chord. We're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we're going to go down, 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 down. We're just going to alternate between those two. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's give that a try. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And I'm going to do that once more at a slightly slower tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ready, set, let's go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's getting the double time in time with the 1 and 2 and. So you could this is not the burst yet, this is just the straight double time. So you could shift to that double time anytime you wanted. I'm going to play just part of the first verse. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and he's real nowhere man living in nowhere. And a little chord lift there at the end. You can feel the difference when the double time comes in. It gives a pulse. It's the same thing as when the drummer, if the drummer's going doom ch ch doom ch ch doom ch ch doom ch ch doom 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 ch ch doom ch ch. It's that kind of an effect, and you've heard that in many records. You've heard transition from a double time kind of pulse to a beat and offbeat kind of pulse, and you might have noticed it, you might not have noticed it, but if you hear music going forward now, you will see places where the drummer comes in maybe at the end of a line with a pound, 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 and maybe even a which would be going to the double time burst continuously. So that's the double time inserted. Let's play through let's do the verse 2 times without the chorus. We're going to do the whole thing double time. And we'll take a moderate tempo, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, 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 ready to go now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so there's the double time. Now, this is a good situation to bring in one little texture change, because you notice that steady, that pounding, it makes you want to, boogie a little bit at first, but it starts to get a little monotonous. This is a great place to do a little low strings, high strings. Sometimes play in the lower couple strings, sometimes play in the higher couple strings while you're doing those downs. We're not going to worry about where you do high, where you do low, but I'm going to play through the verse again. I'm going to do a little shifting from low to high while I'm in the midst of those constant, incessant pile driving down, 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 down strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. You hear that? How that? So we're kind of cheating there, because now we're taking our single sound rhythm, bump, 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 and we're modifying a little, so it's a little more, instead of bump, 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 it's like bump, 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 bump. It's just a little different tone at a certain spot. So you're starting to move towards a two-sound rhythm, which the down, up was complete alternating between two sounds. So again, let's give you an example of some of the subtle things you can do to change the rhythmic feel of a song. And it doesn't, how to say this, at the beginning, doesn't matter at all which thing you do when or where. What you're really working on is each element by itself, and then take two elements and kind of mix them together and be able to shift from one element to the other. And once you're able to shift from one to the other, you can kind of take some mental notes. Oh, it feels like this when I make this shift. It feels like this when I make this shift. And if you've got three things and you start mixing up between 1 and 2 and 3, you're exploring an emotional territory, and you're seeing, what does it feel like if it's A and then B, or then A and then C, or maybe B and then C, or just C for a long time. And there I'm not talking about chords, I'm talking about different elements. So that low-high is something that you can bring into this, and you may see me do that because I'm used to doing it. Instead of strumming all 6 strings every time, I'm playing those down, 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 downs. So you can feel free to do that. Now that we've got the down strum, the double time down strum going steadily, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. What's your hand doing after every down strum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's coming right back up. So what happens if we rip a little up strum in there once in a while? 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now we're moving fast enough that be down, 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 and there's little ups, and you don't have time to really go way down and then get set up for a really big up strum. Just grab a couple strings. So we're going to slow the tempo down, 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 up, down, down, down. Let's give that a try together on the D chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, ready to go now. Down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. I missed it. Down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. Now, when I missed it there, see what I did? I went, oh, I missed it, and I stopped, and it created an interruption. If I had simply missed it and just kept going, you might not even have noticed that I missed it. So it's not that we're trying to trick your audience. What it is we're trying to create a flow. So if you're the one that breaks the flow, don't break it any worse. Just who cares whether that up strum was there? It was an arbitrary choice to be putting that particular up strum in anyway. So the double time burst is going down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. So let's just try that by itself. Go down, up, down, and then muffle the strings, and then go down, up, down, and then muffle the strings, and then down, up, down. And let's do that for a little bit. Let's go to a different chord. Let's go to the G just for a break here. Okay, let's give that a try. Ready? And we're going to go 1. Do it on your own. I'll do it, and you do it at your own timing, because it's we're just doing it the burst and a pause, the burst and a pause, without stringing them together in a rhythm. instead of muffling them, let's let it ring afterwards. And let's count a rhythm. Da da da, 2, 3, 4. Da da da, 2, 3, 4. Da da da, 2, 3, 4. I think that makes it easier to work on the timing of it. So it's da da da, 2, 3, 4. Da da down, 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 2, 3, 4. Now we can take that da da dum and put that in front of 2 and 3 and 4 and da da dum, 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and da da dum, 2 and 3 and 4 da da dum, 2 and 3 and 4 da da dum, 2 and 3 and 4 da da dum, 2 and 3 and 4. And I just discovered the da-da-dum is a lead-in note. It's not happening. That's not 1 and 2, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. It's happening on the beat before. 1, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum. Da. That first da is on the lift on the D chord. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum. See, I have to rush that first down strum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum, 2, 3, 4 da-da-dum. Because it's where the and would be. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 da-da-dum, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. All right, so I probably totally confused you now, but the rhythm we're looking for is da-da-dum, and it comes in where you would have lifted the chord. 2 and 3 and 4, 2 and 3 and 4, 3 and 4. So now let's try playing through the chords with that da-da-dum in the first verse, just the first section of the first verse there, one time through the chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, 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 da-da-dum, 2 and 3 and 4, 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 da-da-dum. Okay, so there's that da-da-dum, and you can see that adds another element of drama in front of that lifting chord, and now we're going to do it with the lifting chord. What's that'll sound like? And the da-da-dum happens all on the open strings. So let's try that little slower tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We go. Okay, so there's the double time burst and the lifting chord, and the double time burst is kind of a substitute for or an alternate to the roll strum. We probably won't mix the roll strum and the double time burst in the same measure. You could, if you did the roll on the 3 beat. Got a 1, 2. Wait, what's the count? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. You could do it on the 2 beat. You go. So that's da-da-dum, da-da-dum, brum, and 3 and 4. If I I can do it once at a time. Da-da-dum, brr, in 3 and 4, da-da-dum, brr, in 3 and 4. Now we're getting into a fairly complicated sounding rhythm. That I think would get a little monotonous if you did it all the way through the song. But if you combine even those three together, at some place you're going to get a nice little dramatic burst. Okay, so let's quickly review what we've done so far. We've done the roll strum. We've done the lifting chord. We've done double time. And we've done the double time burst. And there's the burst with the lifting chord. Okay, so we've got a chunk of things that you could mix together as you went through the song to see what the effect is. If you do this one, you do this one, if you change from this one to this one in different places in the song. I'm going to just play through the verse once and the chorus once and try to kind of randomly mix all those things in. Just so it'll be a thing on tape that you can review to see them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's some mixing together of those, and I may have added something that we didn't go over yet. Anyway, but you get an idea from that. Okay, so now the next thing we want to look at, let's check, we have the lifting chord. Now, the lifting chord is the place that we could do an early chord change. So if we're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and A, D, 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 and A. What would happen if when I did that lift, if I dashed over to the A? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Sorry. Now, where the lifting the chord gave you a break on getting to the chord, the early chord change means you have to quickly change from the 4 to the and have the new chord in place. Now, that's not any faster than if you did the and on this chord and then did the 1 on this chord. It's still a half beat to change the chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Instead, I'm going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. But because you're doing that chord change on the upstrum, it's going to feel like you have less time just because you're not used to making the change and having it ready on the upstrum. But it's another great little subtle sound element that you can change as you go through these. Let's see, where are we at here? We're all right. We got a couple more minutes. Let's do this left hand. I want to try the left hand cutoff with what we've done. It's not what we had on the menu, but I want to try this. No, let's shift to this. Let's do a bridge mute when we get to the chorus. So a bridge mute is a right hand mute where you put your right hand on top of all the strings just in front of the bridge saddle. I've been calling that a right hand mute, but I think a bridge mute is a better way to say it because then you don't have to remember right and left because there's also a left hand mute. So we'll use the bridge mute and left hand mute for two different things. So if you're muffling all the strings, it gives that plunky plunky sound. We used that last week on Greenback Dollar. But when you get to that F sharp minor for the chorus, and you use double time with that mute. It makes a really great effect for this song, because if you remember the way they sing it, they have that ooh la la la, ooh la la la, and this has that la 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 kind of feel to it. So I'm going to play the verse, and then I'm going to go to the F sharp minor in the chorus and listen. Simple roll strum, roll. Do you notice how it feels dramatic when I go to that? And that's almost a little too strong, I think, for this song at this tempo. I think I want to play that just a hair slower. Now, instead of going to the double time, I could have just done my same with the roll strum. Now, the roll strum is a little awkward with the mute because your hand is kind of anchored in here. So I'm just going to go to 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So the last line of the verse. Compared to the double time. Now I think my favorite for that spot is the double time, but I think if I want to make that a little less, let me hit kind of the very bottom string and then kind of the middle. So it would be so that's, let's finger the G chord and put your hand in front of the bridge and just go down, 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 down. Nice and muffled. Now try bass string and then down somewhere else. Down, up, down. So bass, middle, 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 bass, middle, 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 bass, middle, middle, middle. I'll say high, one syllable. Bass, high, 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 bass, high, high, high. So that's I think that's a good rhythm to put on that F sharp minor there. So if I take, I'm rushing a little because we're getting near the end here, but I want to get this last thing in so you have the full set of stuff to play through the whole song with. The G to G minor to D. Please listen. And then you could carry that muffle. He's a real nowhere man living in the Okay, so that's our collection of elements for this week. If you have any questions, you can see right up there is info@strumstick.com. You can send me an email. I'll get that at that email link and ask your questions. And I'm going to play through the song. I'll play it through the verse a couple times and then the chorus, and maybe go back, maybe go a little longer, just to kind of give a demonstration of throwing a lot of these things in, and maybe a few extra things too. So I look forward to playing for you all and teaching next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And thank you for all who came. And we'll kind of wrap things up for tonight with a little strumming and use all these elements together. So everyone, be well, be safe, and we'll see you next Wednesday.